bit.
What up? Welcome back. Superherocuts live. Stevie, me, Jerry. Let's get into it. Today, we have Spider-Man Brand New Day. It is a new beginning, very fitting for the title. What are we expecting from the big Superman trailer dropping tomorrow? Why RDJ is perfect for Doctor Doom. Marvel Studios has cast their T'Child. So dude, the fans are ruthless. Thunderbolts director in talks for X-Men movie. Sam Wilson has already recruited his own Avengers team off screen. Marvel Studios is done showing major characters in the Disney Plus shows. If you've been watching the show, you know we've been talking about that for a while, ahead of the curve here. Peacemaker trailer reaction. The new Avengers and FF Fantastic Four will appear in multiple files, and Clayface is being rewritten. Stevie, how you doing?
Good, bro. Just want to say something real quick for all of our ex people. For some reason we are not linked. I probably got to relink it. So after we get done our live stream, I'm going to replay the live stream, so it will run on X right after we are done. I'll pull it through there. So sorry, guys. But doing good, bro. How are you today, brother?
I am doing well, man. I am doing well. No complaints. Hungry, aka legendary swag. What is good, my man?
What's up, homie?
Yeah, hungry is the best. We got a lot of good things to get into today. Oh, and you know what? We're gonna add to the docket. We're gonna throw it in there wherever Stevie decides it should go in the order. But I don't know if you saw this, the Spider Noir trailer.
Dude, I was watching it. Yeah, bro.
That looks fire. I'm so hyped for that. I love film noir, and it's called film noir because when noir was the trend, it was still shot on film. But I was in film club in high school, and my film teacher, Mr. Cabot, was. I wish I stayed in film club. My mom made me join a club. I joined film club, and then once I started getting into trouble with friends, I stopped going. But I wish I stayed in it. I feel like I would have done really well if I did film in college, and it probably would have been a better path. But whatever. Anyway, you live and you learn. But yeah, film noir is like a really cool genre, and I think that it's going to be really cool for especially like younger comic book fans. You know what? I'm going to save it. Let's go in order.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely add this right under here. 1 second. I'm just moving it up real quick. It's pretty big news.
Yeah.
All right. So first off, we're going to talk about some Spider-Man, bro, because I know a lot of people in here are Spider-Man fans. So some news that's coming out about Spider-Man. Shout out to the Redacted Spider. He's kind of like the leading guy when it comes to Spider-Man. And this is weird. He's been doing this. I'm pretty sure he's been doing this since like the No Way Home stuff. So some news came out about Spider-Man Brand New Day, and of course, right, the funny thing about news is like it's like whenever news comes out that I want, you're always the one to send it to me first. I never catch it. It's just
really,
bro.
So funny.
The same thing with T'Child in Spider-Man 4. Like you just send it to me, which is just so funny because I'm like, yo, I'm like, I always see the dumbest news, and then the news I want to hear is like I'm like the last one to see it. Yeah. But I was really laughing about that. But so obviously this is going to be a new beginning for the franchise and not just a multiversal story. So, bro, I wanted to know, what is your thoughts on all this?
First of all, I love this. I love that they're doing this for a couple of reasons. Number one, we never had a grounded New York element like classic Spider-Man movie in the MCU. We had a coming of age movie. We had an international kind of MCU post Tony Stark Spider-Man movie. And I really think the trilogy is like a great unit in Peter Parker growing up and having to make some pretty big sacrifices for responsibility. It's funny. Someone on Threads was trying to tell me that like that wasn't Spider-Man, and Spider-Man would never do that. Like, bro, I have literally read every single Amazing Spider-Man comic since the year of 2000.
Yeah.
You don't get to explain Spider-Man to me. And that, when I tell you, like, if I had to tell anyone the one thing about Spider-Man is that it is very much that quote, but at the same time, he doesn't always get to be happy. He tries over and over because he's not a guy that gives up, but for a lot of the time, he really isn't happy. And you really see that in his relationships. And, you know, the One More Day, like a lot of Spider-Man fans really hate that story. And it's funny because now they kind of like it in No Way Home, but I question if they're going to also hate it once they're going to have to take a lot of inspiration from the Brand New Day era of Amazing Spider-Man comics, because that came after that One More Day story, which No Way Home was inspired by.
Yeah.
And, you know, Brand New Day gets a lot of crap from a lot of Spider-Man fans. I think Spider-Man comics, it's kind of like the cool thing to hate on them, but Marvel really does a good job with Spider-Man comics. It's just a cool thing to hate on. It kind of sucks it is that way. And also, it makes it easier for people who pretend they read comics to come across like they know what they're talking about, because they see a bunch of people saying, oh, ASM comics suck, Amazing Spider-Man, so I'm just going to say that. And you get a lot of posers online. But anyway, what does this mean for the movie? I think it's a really good thing. I think that we're going to get that classical Peter Parker thing. And, you know, one of the things we always said on the show is that we understand why they do what they do with the Spider-Man movies. He's obviously like the biggest Marvel character in history, and he is the most profitable character in the MCU right now. But, you know, they need to use him to push the main story forward. But the problem with that is, in a lot of ways, your Spider-Man movies and Spider-Man as a character becomes the victim of always being exploited to lift up other stories that you're trying to tell in the MCU. And is it really the right, you know, course of action to have your best character suffer by having to put the rest of the MCU on his back when it comes to storytelling? And I don't think so. I basically said that recently. You know, I spoke about it with Stevie. I thought we were going to get into a debate about this, but he sees it too. And, you know, it wasn't like I had to convince him. Stevie saw it from the jump. So why did you see it this way this time?
Yeah, I mean, and just say, Silver, I mean, like, I've always liked either idea, because I mean, a part of me thought that they were going to go the multiversal, you know, because of, you know, just the doomsday and what's going on, and they needed people to buy into the story. But honestly, the fact that the fans love Thunderbolts, and I think the fans will love Fantastic Four, I think that's going to do a lot of movement for the MCU going into Doomsday. And I think maybe Feige saw this happening. And I think that's why he let Destin kind of do his thing with Spider-Man 4 and kind of them two. I guess they're projecting what's going to be those next 3 films. And so, but, you know, I love urban-based Spider-Man. I love the neighborhood level Spider-Man, you know, like that's why like the first MCU Spider-Man film is one of my favorites, because he's in
not a film.
Sorry. That's why the Spider-Man Homecoming file is literally one of my favorite Spider-Man files of all time, because he's just in neighborhoods messing around. You know, he's just eating hot dogs and losing his web shooters. Like that's the part of Spider-Man that I love. And I also, bro, do think that this is a very smart decision, because it protects the future of Spider-Man. And I think that Marvel Studios has done a terrible job of protecting the future of Spider-Man. And I also think No Way Home is such a loved movie, because they actually were obsessed with a Spider-Man story, not trying to push it to the next story or level. And like the Russos have said before, that like when it comes to Marvel Studios, one of the biggest rules that they have is to make the greatest movie ever, no matter what the cost is. And they have said that. Like that was Feige's thing. And the reality is that with the first Spider-Man trilogy and a lot of the movies, and with the success of the Avengers films, the cost was the future. They cost the future for us, and we were kind of cooked because a lot of the things that they did hurt us in a way.
Yeah.
And so it really seems like Marvel Studios is learning from that, and that they are not trying to give us the best movie right now. But I think Feige understands that after this Doomsday and Secret Wars the thing is over, you can't just poop out $1 billion a file no more. You can't.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to be bought into this story. And giving Tom Holland, I don't want to say it's a Spider-Man rebrand, but giving us this reintroduction into the character, and if it's a little more accurate, and I'm more than sure, Destin's looking at, I'm pretty sure he's talking to Rami. He's watched some web stuff, like I'm more than sure he's trying to give us the best Spider-Man possible. So yeah, bro, I think this is like, these are the things, Jerry, that you talk about, right? Like, look, I know that when it comes to anything you do, you are a shark. You are always on point. You are always looking at the future and past. This is the type of stuff that we need from, Kevin in Marvel. So I am really happy about this, bro.
The other thing I really love about it is that, and we're going to get into, so Alex Perez from Cosmic Circus dropped a big article on this today, and Stevie and I spoke about that. So we're going to get into that right after I say this, unless Stevie has something to add on what I say before we do that. But the thing that I really love about this, aside from Spider-Man in terms of MCU as a whole, is that I love that we are going to see a movie at the same time as Avengers Doomsday that isn't focused on the Avengers cycle, but it's going to be planting the seeds for the future of the MCU. Listen, you could make your Shang-Chi files, you could make your WandaVision shows, your Ironheart, whatever. There is, when you're talking Marvel, the biggest brands in Marvel, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and Avengers, period. And I'm not saying I don't like other characters, or it's just, listen, facts. That is the face of the Spider-Man, of the Marvel brand. And I love that they're going to be putting out a Spider-Man file that is planting the seeds for the future, because they didn't do that last time. They weren't thinking anything about the future, and it cost them. Steve, you have anything to add on that, or do you want to get into the Alex Perez now?
Let's go to Alex Perez, my brother. Let's get it.
Yeah. So there are two. Let me pull them. Okay, so here it is. So basically, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Tom Holland and Zendaya are returning. Destin Daniel Cretton is directing. It's releasing on July 31st, 2026. Sadie Sink and Liza Colon Zayas in unknown roles. She's the older, I think, Hispanic lady who was cast just the other day. Costume research is interesting. They are looking into samurai and shinobi inspired armor with a mysterious female with black kimono, katana, and tech wear. The villain rumors are that there's a female villain who may be an original creation, which, by the way, that they're allowed to come up with their own characters in the MCU. They don't have to put the character in the comics to say it came from the comics. Okay.
100%.
Let's be real. And obviously most of the characters should come from the comics, but if you want to create a character here and there, that's fine by me. And villain rumors. So, and this is my favorite one, is Mr. Negative. If most of you probably know him from the Insomniac PlayStation Spider-Man games. If you read the comics and you've read Brand New Day, you know Mr. Negative is one of the coolest villains in the game, period. And when I say the game, I mean the genre, not actually the game. But yeah. So, all right. Now, Alex Perez also had a pretty big theory. He thinks that his theory is inspired by a lot of the costume research details. And it's inspired. He thinks that this file may adapt Spider Island storyline, but very loosely. And I think it's important to note that now when you hear people talking about Spider Island, and I'm not saying this about Alex, but there's another kid online who has a really, really bad Spider Island theory. It's becoming very obvious that a lot of people talking about Spider Island have never read Spider Island. And they literally think it's like an actual like Caribbean island. Okay. And I'll get into what the Spider Island comic was. There was a queen spider, I forget her name, but she basically caused the entire city to become infected with spider powers. So everyone had spider powers, and it was wild. It was a really cool comic. It was from Dan Slott's first like Spider-Man run, which a lot of people say Brand New Day is his first Spider-Man run. He gets credited for it because I don't really know why, but Brand New Day had rotating writers. So it would be like one issue and then the next, and it would, or sometimes it would be one writer would write 3 issues, another one would write 3. So, but after that like 100 issues of Brand New Day, there was another new Amazing Spider-Man reboot called Big Time. And that's when Dan Slott started writing it exclusively. And towards the end, he has like 3 super long exclusive Spider-Man runs. This was the first one. And toward the end of that, Spider Island was like this big event towards the end before they went to Superior Spider-Man, which we're not even going to get into. But so yeah, so that's important to note. Okay, now the cultural myth influence is that a Yao Guai, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, so I'm sorry if I'm not. I wouldn't hold anyone for not getting Hebrew pronunciations right, so I'm not. If you hold me for this, I think it's a little ridiculous. We live on the internet where people wake up, they take a stick, they put it up their behind, and they look to be offended online. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, Yao Guai, spider demons from Chinese folklore. Creatures appear as women, transform into giant spiders, similar to Spider Queen's powers in Marvel Comics, who I just mentioned. Now, that stuff to me is not so interesting. Like, yeah, it could be cool. His Spider Island is a little more accurate. Alex really knows what he's talking about. And normally I wouldn't talk about someone's theory, but if you know Alex, he usually gets a lot of things right. And he's probably the best scooper in the game. So anyway, this is the really interesting part to me because this is new. That stuff isn't as new, is that it actually starts out as a grounded movie, but it's really a multiverse setup. So the movie's going to start out being a grounded street level story, might even have Scorpion Shocker. I don't know how it's going to be grounded if it has Spider Queen, Mr. Negative, Shocker. Like that sounds crazy to me, but whatever. But and then at the end, it's going to have a twist ending, and it's like this file actually took place on Battle World. Oh, so if you don't know what Battle World is the planet that Dr. Doom creates from scraps of planets that were destroyed in the incursions. And that's where Secret Wars takes place. So, and then it explains that MJ and Ned's return and missing New York City heroes. And it's also supposedly bridges Daredevil Born Again to Avengers Secret Wars, which, listen, I think that sounds very reasonable because, I mean, as much as what we said, what we heard, we liked in the beginning, like this movie is still coming out in between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if we talked about this on the show, but they said that supposedly they are trying to keep Avengers Doomsday at 2.5 hours and Avengers Secret Wars at 3 hours. And if you've been watching the show, one of the things that we've always said is that Marvel is going to try to follow the success formula of the previous Avengers cycle, meaning the way Infinity War built so much hype, and then Endgame came out a year later. Both of them crashed records, billions of dollars, et cetera, et cetera. They want that same type of success. So, of course, the run times are going to be similar. But if they could put a Spider-Man movie that comes out in between them and hypes those movies up, I mean, come on. Who else to hype up your Avengers movies than Spider-Man? Like, Spider-Man is the guy. So I think it's very probable. It sounds like there's a lot going on. And one of the other things that I think that they're also probably doing is putting out a lot of fake information to throw people off. I think the Mr. Lee stuff, the Mr. Negative, makes a lot of sense, especially with all this new Japanese stuff they're talking about. Spider Island might be a little wild, but I think the Mr. Negative stuff makes sense. And I think that it could be a grounded movie so that we get to experience a grounded movie and enjoy it. But at the end, it flips, so it's multiversal, because that way they kill two birds with one stone. They get to give you that classical Spider-Man movie experience, but still have it hype up the Avengers cycle of files that are coming up and boost their box office sales. So I think that makes the most sense. I think I would bet the house on it.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, bro. I agree with that. There's really not much I need to say there. I mean, everything that I was gonna say, you pretty much said, bro. I think that the whole Spider Island stuff, and I talked to you about that earlier, it does seem like a lot, bro. It does seem like a
Great
lot.
comic, but it just
Yeah,
it
a
doesn't
lot.
make sense here.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot.
there was a Secret Wars, like, so you have to also understand in the comics that they, first of all, they reuse titles all the time. There's so many different Secret Wars. There's different secret invasions. So they use titles all. Infinity War has been used like 5 times. So one of the things they did with Secret Wars to do tie-ins was use previous titles. So there was some like Battle World, Spider Island comic, and I think a lot of people are like focusing on that. But I think that's. It makes no sense. I don't think they're doing it.
Yeah, bro. I agree. I think it's something that people are kind of clinging on and they're just trying to run with. But yeah, I just don't see it. And with the Doomsday story happening, and I think but I really do think Destin's, like, even from when he was talking for like the bit where he's like, I'm focused on the costume, how that's gonna look, and the movement. I really think one of the big focuses is establishing this new Spider-Man. You know what I mean? And when I say this new reintroduction into the character, so I think that's gonna be the main focus.
Yeah.
But if they can fit a Spider Island in there, that'll be a crazy first movie back. That would be crazy.
I don't want them to do it, and I love the Spider Island comic, the Dan Slott version, like the real one. I never read the Battle World version, but like I have read a good amount of Battle World comics, and I told you this. I think a lot of them were bad. Like, I don't think they were good, and I think part of the problem was that they're associated with Secret Wars, and nothing was going to live up to Secret Wars. Like, they shouldn't have even done them, but they probably wanted to sell comics in the Battle World name. It is a business, so. Whatever.
The only crazy thing I can see is Miles Morales, but
yes,
that's probably the only thing I can see in Brand New Day that'll be like out of the normal, because a lot of people think that like there was a lady that was cast that was Hispanic, and people keep thinking that's Miles' mom, and obviously the Prowler, he was in Spider-Man Homecoming, and if we're going into a new Spider-Man trilogy, Miles would be. I think that's very possible.
I do think that I don't think him being in Homecoming was done with like strong intent. I think they probably did that because in case they did it down the line and they wanted to have Childish Gambino. He was super popular at the time. And I love him, by the way. He is a creative genius in everything he does. Yeah. But, that was so long ago, and they had a major falling out with Sony a couple of years after that. So I think any creative decisions that were made for the future around the time of Spider-Man Homecoming are completely irrelevant now.
Yeah, but I do still think that with both Sony and Marvel Studios restructuring, I think that there's like a newfound. I think there's possibly some type of newfound love because the way that I feel about Brand New Day, to me, it feels like it's a Sony and a Disney baby, or it's a Sony and a Marvel Studios baby. And I really feel like both studios are going to back this super hard. And I really think it's possible, bro, that we could get some type of planning of a Miles. I really could. I really could see it, bro. I really could. Now I'm not dying on that ledge, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked if it's. I wouldn't be shocked if it happens. Where if this new Spider-Man, he's like mentoring Miles or something, that'll be insane. And Tom Holland's talked about it too, so who knows? Well, who knows what's going? But regardless, I want Harry Osborn. I want Norman Osborn. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
a very simple man. I want the Osborns back. And to me, bro, if we get the Osborns, I'm good.
I was thinking about, sorry, I'm looking for a quote at the same time, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, go
But
ahead, Brody.
yeah, so basically I was thinking about that. I would love, me, I'm an Osborn guy. I want the Osborns. I think the Osborns would be huge for the MCU. But in case they don't want to do the Osborns for whatever reason, I think that they could do something with Roderick Kingsley. They could do Phil Urich. For those of you that don't know, the Hobgoblin, which originally, everyone knows Harry Osborn was the big Hobgoblin, but there were other Hobgoblins. And Roderick Kingsley is also a very successful entrepreneur villain who you could tell very similar stories that you could do with Norman Osborn with Roderick Kingsley. So if they don't want to do Norman because he was used in the past, that's a good loophole. And you can kind of give Roderick Kingsley similar stories. But Roderick Kingsley is a little different than Norman. Norman is much bolder. Roderick Kingsley is a bit more under the table strategic. But, I think that's kind of cooler for a villain, like in some ways. Not to say that he's cooler than Norman Osborn. I love Norman Osborn, even though they totally play him out in the comics. And Phil Urich is also a great Hobgoblin, who's Ben Urich's son. And, you probably know of Ben Urich. A lot of you, Ben Urich is the famed reporter at the Daily Bugle and then at the DB and Frontline. But Phil Urich is his son, and he's kind of like an oddball, but he was a vicious Hobgoblin. Phil Urich was actually the Hobgoblin right before Spider Island, but whatever. Listen, if you're going to do it, I think you could use the Osborns. If it was me, I would use the Osborns because you only had Norman Osborn in No Way Home, and he didn't have, he was just like as great as he was and as big an impact he had on the movie, he didn't have that many lines of dialogue.
He was a tyrant.
Yeah, he was just a nutty Green Goblin. He wasn't really Norman Osborn.
I agree. And by the way, those eggs were very good, bro. I just want to say those were some really good characters. I'm going to do some more search on because I've seen them like in the comics, but I never really got to read about them first. I'm definitely going to take a look into those characters. Also, Marvel Studios, if you hear us by any chance, just because Norman Osborn is in the MCU doesn't mean he has to become the Green Goblin automatically. There's so much more to Norman Osborn than the Green Goblin. He could be in other
Don't make him the Gold Goblin or any of those corny things. But Norman
bro.
Osborn has been a number of villains too. That's the other thing.
He is one of the best characters in Marvel, bro. Bro, come on. The Iron Patriot and stuff. Come on, dog. Like he got some pretty cool stuff. So like he doesn't just have to be a Spider-Man bad guy. He could pop up in other spots too. I still wish he was in. As much I do think Thunderbolts is great, but I still wish he was in that, man. And when they said Oscorp at first, I thought they said Oscorp, and I was about to lose my mind.
The current ongoing ASM that like is 3 issues in right now.
Yeah,
Roderick Kingsley is in it. He's going to be the first like big bad. It's great. So yeah, but like I don't know. ASM comics are great. I really like the first Dan Slott run. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Phil York is the Hobgoblin. He spoiler alert, but he kills Daniel Kingsley, who was originally the Hobgoblin in that run for like one issue. And he takes on the mantle, but and Daniel Kingsley is Roderick Kingsley's brother, but Roderick is way more badass.
I'll tell you, bro, Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is crazy, bro.
It really is, bro. Spider-Man's the GOAT. Like, I feel like everyone is trying to pick like their favorite character who's like less known, and in doing so, you end up picking someone who's not as cool as the popular character.
Exactly. Just like how we always say, right? Like, you can have a favorite, but you got to admit when someone's the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, Robin is my favorite character of all time, but we all know Bats is the GOAT of DC. Like, there's no debating. You know what I'm saying?
Without Batman, DC would be folded by now.
By the way, watched Batman Begins again, dude, and my heart towards Nolan has been softening, bro.
No, bro.
Dude, I don't know what's going on with me.
You've grown up.
Dude, I'm loving it, dude. I'm loving it. All right.
You need to, like I told you, sometimes when a trilogy is that good, like it's meant to be a unit. And the Dark Knight trilogy is a unit. You should watch them like all back to back on a Saturday or something.
Remember when you told me like a while ago that I was so young when I saw these files that like a part of me just isn't going to understand some of it. I really think that's true, bro. Because like, as I said, bro, like when I'm rewatching some of this stuff, bro, like for example, me and my pops, before because he just got back from a cruise, but before he left, we watched it was either James Bond, Spectre, one of those, and I think I hated Spectre, right? But when that joke came out, I was probably like 17, bro. And when I just rewatched it, bro, and I'm like, bro, I didn't even understand this whole part of the movie. Like, bro, you are right. Age really does like cloud your perspective when you're really young and like you don't read much, you haven't really experienced much, and you don't understand, you know what I mean, kind of what's going on like
also,
in that world.
Yes, 100%. But also on top of that, if you weren't like old enough to experience something properly when it came out, you'll never truly understand the impact it had. Like, listen, I'm 34 years old. I was not around when the original Star Wars movies came out. I'll never understand the full impact that it had. You know, the original James Bond movies, I could understand more than Star Wars because I'm a huge James Bond fan. I've read the books. I've been immersed in James Bond culture my entire life. But I wasn't around when those first movies came out. And I don't think you could fully understand the impact of something if you weren't there to properly experience the impact in real time. And, it's like, imagine trying to, explain to someone 9/11 who was born today. Like you could explain it. And like when they're old enough, they could understand, it was a terrorist attack on our country. It was a shock. Like 2,000 people died and people were jumping out of buildings. But they'll never be that kid in school that heard the vice principal on the announcement speaker say the World Trade Center was just blown down.
Yeah.
And, and then, get home from school and your parents are watching TV crying. Like you don't experience that. So,
100%.
You have to be, imagine trying to explain, Donald Trump winning the first presidency, whether you like him or not, you'll never understand what it's like to experience it because you didn't experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a difference in a lot of these things. And, it's a product of when you're born and when you live through. And,
100%.
There are some people though, who will always be like, oh, well, you weren't there. And like, that's whack. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not cooler because you're older than someone. Like that's like something people do in 5th grade. And then they are supposed to grow up,
Yeah, bro. Exactly, bro. Exactly. Because so at my youth group, we had a lock-in basically where you used to stay at the church all night. And so we watched all Avengers films. And so, like, when Infinity War ended, all the girls were crying.
Really?
Bro,
Yeah.
like, when Black Panther died, and then I think the part that got them was when obviously when
Vision.
Spider-Man died. That's when everybody was just bawling their eyes out. And I'm just and you know, and it's like they're like it's like you're kind of reliving the moment, but like
Right.
but they said that their parents took them when they were like 5 or 6, bro, and they just never got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like it like it is true, bro. Like the more you experience life, the more you know what I mean, can understand movies. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the what I'm having with Nolan films. I crapped on him for so long, and I'm gonna get cooked on TikTok when I make this
Bro,
video.
there's a reason he's the GOAT, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and you could say what I always said. Like, even if you don't like the movies, the MCU, none of this would exist if it wasn't for the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yep.
And I remember, was it with Slav? I think it was with Slav, and we
Probably.
pulled up the quote, and Kevin Feige even said
Yeah.
that like they benefited from it because the superhero movie audience didn't really exist the way it did for the MCU to be successful until the success of The Dark Knight. So, you know,
Facts on facts. All right, bet. Now let's get to some Superman, man. So we finally have a date for the full Superman trailer, and that is on Wednesday. Fans are very excited, and the world is waiting for this movie to release. They did a
very
whole,
specific. It's releasing at 12 p.m. Pacific time, and Eastern would be. I'm not in Eastern. So I'm in Central. So what would Eastern? Eastern, I think, is 3 hours. I wrote it on my.
Would that be 3 a.m.?
No. Oh, sorry. I said. Hold on. I wrote it. No, it's 12 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, it's 3 hours. So it's. Wait, no, it's 9 a.m. Pacific. Sorry.
Okay.
9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. So if you're like me and you're in Kentucky or somewhere in Central, it would be 11.
Dang, bro.
Yeah.
Man, those 9 a.m.s, lucky son of a guns.
I know.
I had a 9 a.m. dog.
That's crazy.
You have it worse, bro. 11.
I know. It's like
that's terrible. Yeah, I'll be.
I think I have a call at 11 too.
Oh,
yeah.
So, but yeah, and like they did a whole New York joint, which I thought was dope. You got to see it on there. So what are you looking for in this trailer?
I want to understand. It's funny. I was talking about it with Hungry on Threads today, and Hungry, why don't you tell us how you feel about it? I'm going to talk, but Hungry's got some harsh feelings. So I want to understand the premise of the plot. I want to understand the premise of the plot. I don't think we got really enough that we didn't get any dialogue in the first trailer and then the first sneak peek. James Gunn has said this is the first official, like legit trailer. So I'm expecting a lot more from this. Also, there's a lot of people that are complaining, like, oh, where's the Barbie level marketing campaign? I promise you, because I heard this, that marketing blitz is coming, and it is going to be a tsunami, is what I am hearing. It is going to be insane. And what the people who are complaining about the rollout have to understand two things. Number one, you complain all you want. The results of their marketing right now are perfect. You can argue with whatever. You can't argue with their results. And because you can't argue with the results, my criticisms, your criticisms, basically irrelevant. Number one. Number two, they have to sustain the hype up until the first couple of weeks of this movie releasing. They can't just that's why they don't just put out the trailer when they could finally put it out. Like, that's why they don't release a trailer a year before the movie comes out. They do it, and it's very similar with the Ironheart situation. Different timing, but that's because we're talking about Superman, and Ironheart's just not as much of a demanded character. Now, I do think that this marketing blitz is going to be insane. I think this trailer is going to come, and this trailer is going to allow that marketing blitz to sustain the hype where they need to through the first 3 weeks of the movie, The Files release. But yeah, I want to understand the premise of the plot, and that's really it. That's all I want from the trailer. So what do you want from the trailer? And then we're gonna get to Hungry's comments because Hungry's got words.
But yeah, I saw his response. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
So for me personally, bro, I don't really want to see anymore. I have little nicks, as in like, this is just me just thinking like I really want to see how he flies personally. Like, is it like in Invincible where there's really no gather in his flying, is just kind of straight and we see speed, or like when he flies, are there like pops in the air when he increases speed? And I have little details that like I want to see, but I am ready for the movie to drop. As much as we cover, leaks and rumors and stuff, I do like the mystery of not knowing much, and I kind of like how we don't really know a lot about it. One of the biggest things I want to see more is just I want to see Clark Kent talk. I want to see Superman talk. How does he talk to Lois Lane? Like, those are things I want to see, because just that voice when he's talking to Crypto, it's not that I don't like it, but he's badly beaten up, so that's not his regular voice. So I do want to see, and I want to see how he interacts with just other people. And I'm not saying like we get a 2-minute scene, but like we get like little cut scenes of him talking. That's really all I want. I don't really need much for real. Like, James Gunn already told us, this is going to be accurate. It looks great. The fortress really looks cool. I just saw an ad of, it was Superman laying in his bed on in Smallville while Crypto's sitting on top of him. It just reminds me of my dog. My dog's such an idiot. She does the same thing. So I like, bro, I'm telling you, I'm having like PTSD when I'm seeing all this dog stuff. But yeah, man, I don't really have to see much personally. So I'm just ready to see this in theaters. So we shall see.
Me too. And let's get to Hungry. So Hungry is saying this Superman trailer better make me. I can't read that. Sorry. Otherwise, the hype is just gone. I'm literally going to turn into a Snyder Cult fan if it's garbage. Damn. I gotta say, I know this is like blasphemous because this movie is so hyped and people don't think for themselves, but I'm not that big of a Superman guy. Like, I've read more Superman comics than most people have. I like him, and I think he's important to the DC landscape. But like, if I'm reading a comic because like I want to enjoy it versus like I want to know, I read Superman comics because I like to know what. I just like learning the history and the lore and all that. So like I get that out of it. But if I'm picking a comic because like I want to sit down and enjoy it and like have a good time reading it, Superman's not even in the conversation. And I'm not saying that his comics aren't good and people don't enjoy them. He's just not my type of hero. And I think that there's a big disconnect with me with Superman. Like, everyone who loves Superman loves to say like, oh, he's the beacon of hope. Like, that's not appealing to me. I'm not like, I'm not looking to read a comic book for
He's
hope.
the beacon of hope is crazy.
I don't need that. Maybe some people do it. I don't mean to like sound like I'm putting that down, even though it kind of sounds funny. Like, but I really like my DC characters that I really like in order are Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, probably Green Arrow, and I think that's probably my top DC heroes list, and I think that's a fair list. And like, I like DC, and I really like those characters a lot. So I go back to DC a lot and read DC a lot because of them mainly. But I enjoy Marvel Comics more. And the reason I enjoy Marvel Comics more, and I definitely want to clip this part because like, I love both. And I usually don't like to bash one versus the other. But the thing about Marvel Comics to me that makes it so much cooler is that Marvel Comics really is an interconnected universe. Like, you could read a Fantastic Four comic and cross through the time when Civil War happened and see how the characters responded to that, where DC isn't as interconnected. And before anyone tells me they're not trying to be, BS, because every time they reboot their universe, they always say it's going to be more interconnected than before, and it always starts out interconnected, but pretty early on it fractures. And you ask anyone who knows comics, they will tell you that, as long as they're honest. It's just the truth. And I know that they're planning on, they said it for the Absolute Universe too, which so far it really hasn't been. And the Marvel Universe, on the flip side, the Ultimate Universe, it started out with an event comic. So it all started out connected, whereas the Absolute Universe didn't really do that. It was DC's Scott Snyder's Batman run that got me into comics, because Batman's pretty much always been my favorite hero. I would say Batman and Spider-Man. And then when Iron Man came out, Iron Man joined that list. And then once I started reading comics, I always thought Fantastic Four were cool, and I got really into them too, and the Avengers. But I think that Marvel has a leg up when it comes to something like the MCU versus the DCU, because their comics, their source material is more interconnected than DC source material. Having said that, if there's a guy to do it, I think it's James Gunn. I really do. He loves comics. He knows what he's talking about. And he has always done a really good job with, I hate this new phrase. People are like, ensemble films. Like, I swear, first of all, a lot of you use words that you don't even know what they mean. And a lot of you just hear someone else say it, and then you think you sound smart by saying, someone who misread what I said the other day on Threads was like, you don't have media literacy. I'm like, bro, you can't even talk about literacy. You didn't even read it correctly. But James Gunn does team movies really well. And because he understands how characters need to work together in, a shared screen or universe. So, but I think the Superman movie is going to be great. Maybe it makes me look at Superman differently. I love Superman and Lois. I really do like that show. I think it's great. I do think I like Superman. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate him. I'm not like a Superman. I'm not like a Superman's boring. I definitely don't think Superman's boring or anything like that. And I think when people say that, they really don't understand what they're talking about. And they probably heard someone else say it. And maybe that's why I did think Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is pretty cool, because I like Superman, but I don't like him like that much, where I wasn't as pissed off at him changing Superman as a lot of other people were. But if you are like a real like diehard Superman guy, I could understand why, betraying his faithful comic accurate version of the character would aggravate you. If someone did that to like Spider-Man or Batman, for me, which Snyder also did that to Batman, like I would lose my cool. But yeah, listen, I think this movie is going to put Superman on the map in a way that we never really had in our lifetime. I really do. I think that's what it's going to do.
90% of my friends are more excited for the Fantastic Four than Superman. And that second trailer.
They watch this show?
Huh?
Is that because they watched this show?
Well, they saw the trip. Well, a lot of my friends watched the first reaction. Like, remember when we had a stream the day after? A lot of my friends watched it because they had a lot of just questions. But that second trailer that they dropped a few weeks ago, like, bro, my like about 3 of my group chats erupted, like with with my friends from church or from whatever. Like, they were all saying, like, yeah, this movie has me sold. And aside from like the Shia LaBeouf stuff, I do think from a trailer standpoint, the Fantastic Four marketed, or the Marvel Studios marketed the Fantastic Four perfectly. And with the trailer that the Fantastic Four showed us, excuse me, that second one, there is a lot of dialogue. The music is magnificent. The way that they took the main theme and made it dark when Silver Surfer comes in, it's just, bro, it is a work of freaking art. And that context is what got fans is what got fans on the Fantastic Four so hard because when fans know that there's stakes, fans get just bought into it. With Superman, it was a collage of a bunch of different scenes with no theme and no context. And so, like, I do think that also has a part to do why fans aren't as excited for Superman as Fantastic Four too. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't know what's going on in Superman other than that, he's experienced, like Superman's figured it out and that's about it. And he has a crazy dog, you know what I mean? And, and the other small, comic accurate stuff that they have going on. So hopefully this Superman trailer that comes out Wednesday can do what the Fantastic Four trailer did for that. Because I'm telling you, a lot of people weren't going to see that file and that second trailer. I mean, bro, it was like clockwork. About an hour after that dropped, three of my group chats, bro, got blown up. It was actually insane.
A lot of people also say on the flip side, some people say that Fantastic Four is boring. And I think that this movie, this file, is going to change people's mind. It's crazy to me that people think that Fantastic Four is boring. I think it's an unfair argument, but people have like John Campea, who I love, but he had made that argument and said that Fantastic Four has struggled in comic sales at sometimes. And that is true. But usually when you look at the times they've struggled in comic sales, like Marvel Comics as a whole wasn't doing well at that time. So, it's not like I always say, people are always like, numbers don't lie. First of all, people lie, and the numbers sometimes reflect that, number one. And number two, numbers never tell the whole story. Amen. If they did, people wouldn't watch sports. They would just watch the ESPN ticker,
100%.
So, yeah. But yeah, listen, I think this movie file is going to put Superman on the map in a way we've never seen in our lifetime. They've made a couple Superman movies since I've been a kid. It's been Superman Returns came out. People didn't really like it. I didn't really like it. Man of Steel came out. I liked it. I wasn't reading comics at the time. I was just loving superhero movies. I thought it was cool. But we never really got a quality comic accurate Superman. And I think that this movie is going to change the relationship fans have with Superman.
Yeah. And also, like, I think Cornswell is such a great celebrity. He's quiet. You don't hear a lot out of him. And when he does talk, everything has been great. This is a great guy to put at your forefront. Someone that is about the work. I mean, like this is a great guy too. Like all of his interviews have just been spot on. So shout out to Cornsweat.
Did you watch the clip that I sent you today of Rob Schneider?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh,
wait. Oh, no. Oh, no. You're talking about the whole. Yes. I did.
Yeah, so Rob Schneider was talking with Fox News Radio. I guess it was the social media page if you want to check it out yourself. And Rob Schneider was like talking. He wouldn't say who the actor was, but he said it was one of the biggest comedian actors who also does serious roles from the early to mid 2000s. And he's like one of the biggest names in Hollywood. And Disney hired him like within the last year or 2 years or whatever. And they said, we don't want you on social media at all. And that was part of the contract. And I think that's really interesting. I'm sure it's funny. They probably are looking at like Rachel Zegler. They probably thought she's not a big enough actress that we're going to have to worry about her getting loud. And that's just my perception. Maybe I'm wrong, but whatever they did, they're probably shooting themselves in the foot right now. Because obviously that didn't work out for them. And it's crazy that they didn't do that with her and they did it with this legendary comedian actor. So,
and like James Gunn he's really good at casting, bro. He's really good at like from what we've seen so far, he's really good at casting people like that Kyle Chandler, Aaron Pierre, Brosnan, Nicholas Holt. I mean, he got some really good people like John Cena. I mean, James Gunn just has a really good talent for casting. Like we have the right guy. We do. I love him. We really have the right guy. So, all right. And now let's get to the next topic here. We're talking about the GOAT of superhero files. Mr. RDJ. So you obviously brought this topic and
Yeah.
you had been thinking about it for a while. So RDJ being cast as Dr. Doom was such a controversial decision, and so many fans have had different viewpoints on it. So, bro, do you think that RDJ being Doom was a good choice, a bad choice? I really want to hear kind of your heart on it and kind of where you're at.
I've heard all the arguments on this, and I at first loved it. And then I was like, you know what? I really wanted Mads Mikkelsen, but I think RDJ is going to do a great job anyway. And that's kind of where I've been for a while. But I recently found this podcast called Off Panel, and the guy's name is David Harper, and he interviews all your favorite comic writers. And I found it because a guy I follow on social media who goes by Dano_Cosmic, great page, worth the follow. Check him out. Anyway, he posted that Jonathan Hickman had just went on this podcast. And I listened to the Hickman one, loved it. Hickman's my all-time favorite writer. If you've been watching the show, you already know that. But another writer, so then I went through the podcast and I was looking for writers that I really like to listen to their episodes. And Christopher Cantwell came up, and I love Christopher Cantwell. He's one of my favorites. And he wrote my second favorite Iron Man run ever. And he also wrote one of my other favorite comics of all time, which was Dr. Doom. It's like a 10 or 12 issue kind of miniseries where Dr. Doom's the main character. Anyway, he was discussing the similarities between Iron Man and Dr. Doom, and he was really highlighting their shared traits and contrasting approaches and how both characters are depicted as highly intelligent and arrogant and often believing that they know what's best, yet a lot of the times both of them being wrong. He also noted that they both are driven by a desire to prove themselves, and he emphasized that their stories often incorporate things like humor when appropriate, but he still pointed out that both characters have a tendency to be destructive. And Tony Stark generally has a better track record and works harder not to harm others, where Dr. Doom doesn't always consider that. But like, I was trying to find the exact quote, but that's basically the gist of it. And when I thought about that, I was like, that's crazy, because he's so right. And obviously he understands these characters better than almost anyone, considering, I mean, if you read like that Dr. Doom run or his Iron Man run, you know, this guy, they were deep, like character analysis runs of comics. And I never thought about it like that. And now that I do, I'm like, RDJ is perfect and he is the best choice. Because even though, like, and maybe your first choice was someone else, maybe it wasn't Mads Mikkelsen, and maybe you have a good reason for that actor, whatever. RDJ played Iron Man. It's a very similar character to Dr. Doom, and RDJ is the most successful person in Marvel Studios as an actor. So he is someone who understands how to make a Marvel movie and how to be successful in a Marvel role. So I think RDJ is the perfect one, and I don't think anyone can come up with an argument to debate me on this at this point.
Yeah. By the way, I am a half hour in on that Hickman episode. I had it on earlier today.
Oh, it's funny because there's another one I just listened to it because he's been on there a couple of times. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll send you the other one. That was
Perfect.
great.
Yeah. The one thing that I heard about it that I thought was very interesting was when Hickman was talking about how, whenever he's writing a comic, he's always thinking about how he's going to set up the next guy, because he was saying how we're only getting these heroes for a certain amount of time, and then I have to move on. And he was saying my job is to set up that next guy to give them a good story to run with. You know what I mean? So I thought that was very interesting how, you are kind of working together in a sense. But Hickman's different, bro, because he was saying how, like, with the people on his team, he visits them, he talks to them, like he's building relationships with people, even if it's a limited series. You know what I mean? So like, he's different, bro. He's different.
That's why I always say, like, he really is in a league of his own, and there's nobody that writes comics like Jonathan Hickman. And he also said that he hates when people like write about other comic books to kind of throw shit at it in their comic run. It's like, he's like, it's so petty and immature, and like, I would never do that. He's like, it's one thing to like make a friendly joke or something, but like when you're like doing it and knocking it, like he's like, I'm not going to name names, but like that's whack. You know, but he's like, you know, he's like, I'm lucky that I've been very successful at Marvel, and because of that, they give me a longer rope. He's like, but I also understand I'm a hired gun. My job is to make comics that sell, and he's like, I've been very good at it. So you know, and he's very confident, and he deserves to be, because he is the greatest comic book writer. It's hard to say of all time when you think about the things that Stan Lee had to do, but I would say he's the best. I don't know about saying the greatest, but the best, being that he also has the advantage of writing in modern day, when writing has evolved and the comics have laid down ground and foundation. But the things that Stan Lee created, like the medium wouldn't even be what it is today without Stan Lee.
Yeah, exactly. And see, like, I think Hickman's good. And after hearing him, bro, after hearing Hickman, bro, he would have gotten big writing something. And that's why I think he's the GOAT. Like, comics just happened to be his medium, but he could have done anything he wanted writing wise. He would have destroyed. And like, you know, when I look at guys like Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Tom from the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, it's this little thing you see in them. You know what I mean? It's that little twitch of the mind that they have that's just faster than everybody else. And when I watch the Hickman interview, he has it. But I want to talk about RDJ real quick, bro. RDJ is a chameleon as an actor. He is one of the he's one of the best actors we have in this world, and he is really good at becoming other people. I literally saw a video of him. I think it was the movie was where he played a black guy, right? And,
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, Tropic Thunder. But it was him offset, and he was just talking to a random girl like on the street, and as a black man. And dude, I thought it was a black dude for a second. I'm like, dog, he sounds just like him. You know what I'm saying? But he's a chameleon, and you know, and this is why we see people like, you know, The Rock. You know, he has a film, or he has a file coming out too, where he is portraying a famous UFC guy, and like I didn't even know it was The Rock at first. It looked nothing like him, you know. And it is because that chameleon thing is hard to do, and so he has the talent to do this. Also, side note, right? I didn't know RDJ could sing. He's a singer too. He's just a
better not sing as Dr. Doom. I will.
No. Yeah, no, please don't. But he's just a talented human being. And you know, look, we have seen our DJ as a character with a genius level, like intellect. That's one of my fears with Pedro still. Not that he won't sound like that in Fantastic Four, but it's very hard to riff off of our DJ because he has it down like that. The only person I saw that wasn't a science bro was Doctor Strange and Benedict. They went off of each other like perfectly. But anyways, but he knows how to portray someone that is smart, and we have seen him act, you know, as Tony Stark, where he's prideful and, you know, super ego guy. And we have seen small shades of revenge in our DJ's portrayal of Stark. But now we're getting a angry tyrant, a ruler, a sorcerer, and like he's not your usual American villain. He's from another country, and he's a ruler over a country that loves him and adores him. And now he's seeking to be like the end all be all of the whole entire Marvel universe. Count me in, bro. Count me freaking in. You know, it's like it's insane.
One World Under Doom, he is the leader of the world. I mean, I think they have like a term for it in the comic, but which, by the way, issue 4 drops this week. I can't wait. That comic's been amazing. You know, and I just think RDJ is going to absolutely crush it, and people don't even understand.
Yeah, I saw a tweet that had me going wild. They said now that Rob is coming back as Doom, they were like, let's have Bell come back as Darkseid. I say, count me in for that. I would take Bell as a freaking big bad, like, bro, like, and that is another thing.
Christian Bale come back as Dark Side.
Yeah, and they had a whole fan art with his face. It looked insane. But like the idea that a big bad is being played by such a big role is also a really big deal because I mean we had Brolin play Thanos, but he wasn't as big as RD freaking J. So like, bro, this is gonna be fun, bro. This is gonna be such a fun movie. So excited.
Josh Brolin is a really good actor, though. I forget what exactly he said, but it was to the effect of that, like, he didn't really read any comics. He just understood what the role was, and he did it. And you got to give him his credit for that. And I wouldn't recommend anyone to do that, but he happened to not read the source material and pull it off perfectly.
Oh, yeah. All right. Jalen, what's up, dog? Excited for Superman, but I'm not excited for the level of discourse that's going to happen very soon. Yay, Sai, here we go, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Also, I don't want to bring beef with other YouTube channels, but Aaron Fisher. Oh gosh. Yeah, man, he's crazy, bro. He's a wild dude, man. He's a wild dude.
It's crazy how, like, the other day at one point, my entire feed was like trashing Aaron Fisher.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he's not embarrassed. I don't understand. It's like everything you're doing is an act because you are upset that Zack Snyder didn't get the job that they gave to James Gunn. That's all it is. And you're just playing mental gymnastics and playing pretend because you are having a never-ending temper tantrum. That's all it is.
Yeah, and like his identity is being this journalist, right? And it's like you've been putting out like misinformation for months. You know what I mean? And it's like you should feel some type of way that you're trying to literally like destroy what someone has done for stupid reasons. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. And we will not co-sign what him and all those other people try to do with Slav. That was nasty. Yeah. By the way, as well. That was just so bad. So yeah, man, we will always stand for what's right, bro. So yeah, he's whack. Let's see. Big hot take, but at this point, since Marvel has the money, RDJ should stay as Tony and Victor post Secret Wars. That would be insane, bro. That would be insane. Probably not happening, but that would be crazy if he stayed as both. Okay. Now, I gotta pull up the picture on my X, but let's talk about Spider Noir, bro. How did you feel when you first saw it?
They didn't really show much, but first of all, I forgot it was live action, number one. Number two, I just love it. I think Sony is going to cook so hard with this, and I can't wait because, I like Sony. I think they do a good job with a lot of stuff. I think they get a lot of flack because the SSMU was a huge failure, but everything else they've done was quality. And I think this trailer looks great. Like, I am so hyped for this show. And isn't it coming out like this year or next year?
Yeah, it comes out next year.
Oh,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a really big deal for comic book files in general. I think this could change the course of a lot because, this is Sony throwing Amazon a bone, and Amazon, they had the finances to pay for it, to get it done. So if this does work, which I really do, Amazon's been hitting it out of the park lately with shows like Fallout just got renewed for a season 3. Like they're cooking. Reacher's doing good. They have a lot of shows. Wheel of Time hit record, viewings as well. If this does work, we could see, maybe Sony doing a lot more outsourcing work with Amazon now. But here's the only catch though. The writers of the Spider-Verse did work solely on this project. So I do expect it to be great,
Spider-Verse movies.
Yes. Yeah. The guys, I forget the guys' names, but those two guys did work on this project. And they fought very hard for it. Like they fought very hard because Sony was trying to be very choosy, but they fought hard for it. So I do expect this to be great. But do I think this can be copied with a season 2? I really don't. So we got to enjoy this season 1. I don't see a season 2 happening. Just because Sony was pretty choosy in the beginnings of everything, and the writers almost ended up leaving. So, we'll see what happens. But I think this season, though, if it is successful, it can change the game for Sony a lot. Because, one of the weakenings of Sony is, they save themselves a lot of bread, but they don't have a streaming service, Like, there isn't a Sony app where you can, go, like, where we have Max. So, this is a cool starting point for them to outsource their Spider-Man catalog.
Yeah. It's interesting, hopefully it works. But I don't know how much more they could do, because they're lucky they have a character like Spider Noir. They could never make a Spider-Man TV show.
100%.
They'll never put Spider-Man on a TV show. And, who knows? Maybe they'll do like the Peter Parker, the Indian kid, or, there's other characters I guess they could do, and maybe they will. But I don't know. I think Spider Noir was the perfect choice, because you get to do something noir. People love noir. For those of you that don't know, noir is like a genre of mystery type crime movie thrillers. I think from like the 40s or 50s, and it was really popular and it's still beloved today. Like there's a lot of classics like Double Indemnity, Sunset Boulevard, Chinatown, which came out a little bit later, but Chinatown's amazing. Jack Nicholson did it when he was really young. It was like one of his first big hits. If you're like really into, classic movies and movie history, I would check out some of the older noir films because they're great. And those are films because they came out before people started calling movies films to try to make themselves sound smart.
100%. So yeah,
and they're shot on film.
Facts. We are excited for this. This is gonna be awesome. So
yeah,
let's get it. All right, now back to our regular scheduled program here. Let's talk about some T'Child. The Marvel Studios has cast their child. So this rumor has been going around, and it's looking like Marvel Studios has casted their aged up T'Challa Jr. How are you feeling about this, brother?
I'm so tight over this because I think it's 100% true. Number one, I don't think a rumor like this would come out if they were casting T'Challa. And, I was talking about it with Hungry on Threads the other day. Like, they're going to give all of the T'Challa stories to T'Child and pretend he's T'Challa, but call him T'Child or whatever the name they made for him. And it's just such a BS loophole. It's such BS. And they didn't do this for William Hurt. They recast him. So the standard is BS because they haven't been consistent with the standard that they claimed. I think it's ridiculous. I'm so frustrated over this. And like I always say, where there's smoke, there's fire. Because if they're making a decision like this, there's other bad decisions being made.
Yeah. So the sad thing is that this had to make sense because T'Challa Jr. is canon, and I don't want to be like a soundbite and say the same thing every week because you guys know how I feel, where I stand. I wanted a recast, but now that this is probably not happening, I'm gonna look at the bright side. At least we have a freaking T'Challa. Now, I just hope that they don't try to, make him do a fulfilling my father's. I'm trying to fulfill my father's legacy story. If this is the way you go, just make him T'Challa, set him up with Storm or someone, and let's just get this show on the road. That's kind of where I'm at. Like this, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm going to have to accept it now. So, don't do a father's legacy crap and just move on and just do it. You know what I mean? So it is what it is at this point.
They're so gonna do that,
and it's gonna be so whack, bro. It's not gonna make sense. Yeah. I hope that they don't. Like, I'm fulfilling my father's thing. I
don't even want to say
leave Boseman alone. Leave Boseman alone. Like that's how I feel. Because at that point it feels little disrespectful to me. So it's like leave Boseman alone and get your T'Challa and do your thing. And if they cast Idris not Idris Elba, if Damson Idris is the age of T'Challa, I might crash out even more because he doesn't deserve to be like backup lunch. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
I don't even want to say this because I don't want to accept it. But if they are going to do this, the way to do it is, like Stevie said, not to do, my father's legacy. You better make T'Child so raw and dope that like we're not even thinking about T'Challa. You better make this guy the coolest Black Panther. Like he's got to be cooler than T'Challa to justify it. And I got to say, I just don't think you can make a character cooler than T'Challa. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to be. I'm talking like multiple costume variations. T'Challa has to be as smart as Reed or close to. I'm like, we need the whole 9 yards. If you guys pull this bull crap. So this, I mean, it's crazy, but it is what it is at this point.
So ridiculous.
Yeah. So, but on the bright side, I am excited to see a Black Panther movie again. The one thing I am eager to see, man, I need some freaking Namor stuff, bro. I cannot wait to see Namor in freaking Doomsday, bro. Oh my gosh, that actor, bro. He's special. I can't wait to see him again. That's one thing I'm excited for.
Really is.
I agree, and I hope that he pops up. I hope he's in the second Fantastic Four file. That would be awesome if they go down that story route. That would be crazy.
I don't think they will.
That would be ballsy.
Yeah, it does. It is interesting because they steer so clear of romance in the MCU, but they're kind of. What movie did they come out with recently that kind of had it a little bit?
Like the romance.
Well, they did. Well, they had Thor: Love and Thunder. You know, they had a little bit with Star-Lord and
Nebula,
Gamora,
and
a little bit with Nebula, I guess. But you know, they're gonna have to. Obviously, they're doing it, and I think they even kissed in the trailer. I mean, it was just a little. Yeah, but like I think there was a kiss there.
They in the Fantastic Four they kiss, like they were in the bathroom together, kissing. Yeah,
in the trailer.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Damn.
Yeah. So she basically says like everything's gonna be okay. I think it's when they first found out that she was expecting, and then they do like a little like make out session. But Pedro a freak bull, bro. So I'm not even shocked by that, bro. Dude is bad touchy, bro. So I'm not even shocked that they're going the whole 9 yards. All right. Now, next thing here, Mr. Thunderbolts. So, the Thunderbolts director, Jake Schreier, he is in talks to direct the X-Men movie. Jerry, question. Did you see this coming by any chance or no? Like,
I didn't see it coming, but it's not surprising because he just absolutely hit it out of the park with a team file. So, you know, and there was such good chemistry between them, and not only were they a team, they were a team of outcasts. So he is the perfect person to do the X-Men files.
I agree. I think this dude is talented, and you and I have talked about before that when you are that with Marvel Studios, if they find somebody that knows how to do it, you have to keep them. You know, you have, and we can't have the Russos doing everything. You know, we can't have Ryan Coogler doing everything. And there was also a rumor that came out. The Coogler is also in talks for this film as well, for this file as well, which would be actually insane. But I do think this guy, as you said, bro, I think he is right now the best option. Number one, because he is new to the MCU as well. And I do feel like when someone's new to something, they have something to prove, you know. And with Thunderbolts, you can tell he has something to prove. So I think that this guy could do a great job. And Marvel Studios did him right. You know, they had the writers in the room. They had people that knew the sources. So I hope that they can copy that same thing with Jeff, whatever, and that he can, or with Jake, or whatever his name is, and he can really, you know, try to make something great. And if he lands the X-Men, he will go down as one of the GOATs.
Yeah, I agree. We need the X-Men. I mean, I think it's right that they're coming after Secret Wars, but I can't wait, man. The X-Men are dope.
Yeah. And it also seems like Feige has been handling them with a lot of care. Like, it seems like before even a director is chosen, there's been rumors already about a cast already done. It seems like Feige's been doing a lot of the work behind the scenes himself. When it comes to, you know, the X-Men versus like the Fantastic Four, Matt Shackman had a hand in who got casted. Feige's been really like anal about them. So I wonder. I wish Feige directed the X-Men file, but like I wish he pulled a James Gunn and did it, but it's whatever.
Has he ever directed a movie?
So he was actually going to direct a Star Wars file, but then Kathleen Kennedy tried to well, the rumor is Kathy tried to overrun him, and he was like, I run the biggest studio in the world. I don't need this. And he just
Get out of here.
He's like, I'm doing you a favor. And you're trying to overrun what I'm doing. No. Like Feige had to flex on her for a little bit. Like, yo, remember who you talking to?
Seriously. She's such a loser.
That woman's crazy. So, all right. I did want to hear how you felt about this, right? Because Sam Wilson did recruit his own team off screen. And we also know that when at the end of the Thunderbolts movie, in the end credits that, Buck and Sam did have a conversation, didn't go well. And I know you're pretty bought in to that as well, just because you're a big Sam Buck fan. So I do wish this was in the movie, I will say, but how do you feel about Sam kind of having his own team? And are you excited to see like how this is going to work out in Doomsday?
I think this is one of the best things I've heard about Marvel in a long time, that Sam built the Avengers team. I mean, just the fact that Marvel put that out creates so much hype. I wish it was a post-credit scene. Like, that would have been the perfect post-credit scene after or connected to the second one. They could have went without the Red Guardian serial one, or just done 3 if they had to do the Red Guardian one, But yeah, I think it's awesome. Obviously, it's going to be a little funny considering, Bucky had to go with Sam. It went poorly. Like, that was great, So, but yeah, I think it's great. Obviously, the Avengers are gearing up for Avengers Doomsday, and I am bought in. I think that Marvel is doing what they need to do to position themselves for Avengers Doomsday. And that was my big concern going into the year. If you've been watching the show, you've heard me say that in a number of different ways, a number of different times. I loved the Captain America Brave New World movie. I thought it was great. Not the best MCU movie, but it was a good MCU movie. I think it was unfairly treated for unfair reasons. But because it was unfairly treated and, fans did what they did, it didn't go down as a W for most people with Marvel. I think Daredevil did go down as a W. I think Thunderbolts New Avengers is going down as a W. And I think Fantastic Four will go down as a W. And I'm sure where Fantastic Four and the post credits of Fantastic Four are going to do a lot to bring audiences pulled in further and be more bought in to the story going into Avengers Doomsday. So I think that's going to be great. And yeah, I think they're going to be in good shape. But here's the other thing, right? I think that when all is said and done, I think Marvel is positioning themselves much better for the Mutant Saga than they did with the Multiversal Saga. And, with that, there's going to be a lot more going on than just the mutants in the Mutant Saga. Maybe they don't call it the Mutant Saga. I don't know. But we're going to have Spider-Man. We're going to have the Fantastic Four. We're going to have the Avengers. We're going to have the New Avengers, and obviously the X-Men. Maybe the Multiversal Saga goes down as, it was one of the weaker Marvel eras, and the Infinity Saga was amazing. The Mutant or whatever saga is great so far. The Multiversal Saga ended good, but when people are rewatching Marvel movies, they kind of skip over most of the Multiversal Saga, and I think it could very much go down that way. I really do.
Exactly. And I agree. I think this is good because I'm going to say the Thunderbolts are not the Avengers. Like the new Avengers are not, it's as much as I love them, they're never going to have the feel of the Avengers. You know what I mean? And when you have Sam and Spider-Man and, and obviously you now it's probably gonna be Shang-Chi and Thor. That's going to give you the Avengers feel. You know what I mean? And I would love to see Falcon flying in the air and Thor flying in the air, and he's smacking his freaking shield, and we see a freaking blast of thunder go like. That's the Avengers, bro. You know what I mean? So I am excited to see that because I do think that, and Josh said that Bob Iger was kind of saying that movies like the Thunderbolts is the future of the MCU. You know what I mean? Where they are going to take advantage of group films files, which makes sense because we're going into X-Men. And I think you said this a while ago, right? People just think, bro, because the mutant saga is happening, that we're not going to see Sam and Spider-Man and all these other characters together. No, we're still going to get Avengers movies during this time. It's that mutants are going to be the highlight. You know what I mean? So to know that we have an active team, I think that's going to be fun. And to be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if instead of a Captain America 5, we might just get a Avengers file. Like I wouldn't be a shocked about that because and I think I said this last week. I do think that their style is going to be based on a lot of group movies. You know what I mean? Or as you said earlier, ensemble films. Oh, I hate that word. But yeah, this has me excited.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that like the new Avengers, now they had a Thunderbolts comic coming out, and now they're calling it New Avengers. The new Avengers, this new Avengers team is never going to compare to the original like New Avengers from Brian Bendis, the New Avengers from Jonathan Hickman. It's funny, and it's the people that are like, and don't get me wrong, Thunderbolts is a good movie, okay, but third act was weak. Sentry was, you know what? We're gonna get into it now. Hold on, I want to pull something up. There's a lot of revisionist history going on with Sentry, and the truth needs to be told. So here we go. Okay. So basically, Sentry was not well received from day one. He was created and he came out in the Sentry #1 in 2000, but there was a gimmick. Basically, Marvel promoted Sentry as a lost Silver Age character rediscovered in the archives, and he was a forgotten hero who supposedly predated characters like Spider-Man. And the controversy was that it was just like this big hoax, and Marvel fabricated this backstory saying Stan Lee created Sentry in the 60s but never published it, and fans it just came across as gimmicky and manipulative. There were, of course, a few that appreciated it and thought it was clever, whatever. And then people also didn't like that he was too much like Superman, and it seemed like Marvel's lazy answer to Superman. Fans criticized it for being lazy writing and a power fantasy cliche, and that his powers were inconsistently portrayed. And people also thought the Void was kind of corny. Some people was just like, it's just like, it's kind of like a shallow mental illness, which I kind of thought that about Thunderbolts. Like, people on social media were like, I saw someone say to someone, "Oh, how was your therapy session? What'd you get out of it?" Like, relax, okay? I even wrote, if you think Thunderbolts is a therapy session, you obviously have no experience in therapy. And this is true, but what I really didn't like about him was, because I was introduced to him through New Avengers and Siege, the big, kind of finale event of the Bendis New Avengers. I just never really liked him from there. But I have read up on him, and I realized that I wasn't alone in not liking him. A lot of people didn't like him from the jump, which is why Paul Jenkins, the guy who created Sentry, who's a famous Marvel writer, he's loving this because finally people love his original character. He never really had that experience before. But there's a lot of people on the internet who are like freaking out over Sentry. And someone even recently was like, Comics Explained he wrote New Avengers / Avengers. And I forget what he was talking about. But some kid, he posted the cover of New Avengers by Brian Bendis. And it's like, okay, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
if you don't recognize New Avengers / Avengers means the Hickman saga, like you just don't know comics.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, bro, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
still is on my mind to this very day. Oh gosh. Yeah, right. All right, guys, we got about 4 topics and we'll be out of y'all here. So let's talk about this. So the topic of Marvel Studios is done showing major characters in the Disney Plus shows. So let me read this for you guys. Vision Quest will reportedly be the last MCU show to feature characters from the films. So, Jerry, how do you feel about Marvel Studios kind of moving away from putting their major guys in the Disney Plus shows and just keeping them strictly to movies, to files?
I think it's, first of all, they kind of already did that, but I think it's smart. If you start putting characters in TV shows, you are going to hurt their stock. Maybe Captain America Brave New World would have been received better if you didn't just do Falcon and the Winter Soldier and you did a TV show calling him Falcon, and now you're upgrading him to a superhero, like a bigger superhero. So, and I think it's also like kind of strategic with fans, the reason that they're putting this information out now, because I even did a TikTok on it. Like everyone was like, oh, Marvel needs to buy the rights to Spider-Man, so Spider-Man could be in, 10 seconds of Daredevil Born Again. Like, relax, okay? Spider-Man is not going to be in Daredevil Born Again, even if they had the rights. I think it's kind of wild that Daredevil has a TV show to begin with. I think Daredevil's a bit bigger than that, but I think the circumstances are a bit different because it was so successful on Netflix and they kind of wanted to continue that legacy. But I don't think that it will happen again. And clearly Marvel is making sure their fans understand that.
Given the quality of the Disney Plus shows overall, it does feel like Feige's hand was forced to do these shows. I'm not really sure if he ever wanted to do them, maybe to the degree that they were at. And it's just interesting, how we get only a few shows this year, and then we see an up in quality. Brave New World for me, I know some of you guys hate it, but it was an up in quality for me when I see a movie. Thunderbolts is an up in quality, and we were talking about this last week where people couldn't even get a hold of Feige because he's just so busy. You know what I mean? And so the fact that they are like kind of dialing back and focusing on shows that work, like Daredevil and stuff like that, and how they're trying to build their little world down there. And we have our MCU files. I think it's just the best way to do it. And look, you tried it, it didn't work. Ish happens, move on. So I really do like this, because with the X-Men coming, I don't want to see our main X-Men team in a Disney Plus show. I just don't. And there were rumors about that happening way earlier, and I just don't want that. And when I saw Thunderbolts, the people that I was with, they kept asking me, who is John Walker? That's what they were asking me. They were like, yo, this is a dope character. This is my first time seeing him. And mind you, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is one of the most watched shows that they did. And I know a lot of people that didn't know who John Walker was.
That's crazy.
And they walked out of the theater saying, yeah, he was my favorite character in the movie. He was. So that right there should, and I'm more than sure a lot of other people didn't watch the shows either. So keep them in movies, keep it straight. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, bro, it's crazy. Like, they were like, yeah, who's John Walker? I'm like, are you serious? You don't know who this is?
Yeah, that's
yeah, it's crazy.
Great character. Great character. By the way, a lot of people are saying that John Walker was never hated. I never hated him, but when they gave him the shield, the entire internet was
he got cooked.
Bro, he got cooked.
Yeah,
a lot of revisionist history going on.
Yeah, he got cooked bad. He got cooked bad, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. So next thing here. So there was another part of news that came out saying that the new Avengers and the Fantastic Four will appear in multiple files. By the way, guys, when we say files, we're talking about movies. So I wanted to ask you, why is it that Marvel Studios is enamored with the new Avengers and the Fantastic Four? Like, why do you think that, like, why do you think that Feige's looking at these two teams and he's like, yeah, these are the two teams that we're going to run with for a little bit?
They struggled so long to have characters in this saga that people cared about, and finally they see that people are really feel connected to these characters.
Great point. Great point. So when you think about multiple files of them popping up, and I do think this is going to be during this Doomsday and Secret Wars timeline, and it might be possible that Secret Wars, it might not be a back-to-back thing. I really think that they're going to put a couple more projects maybe in between these two files, but of Doomsday and Secret Wars. So
I don't know.
The question I have is, where and how are they going to pop up in different files? And that's the question that I mean, obviously we can't answer because we're not in the rooms, but have any ideas crossed your minds on how they could possibly pop up?
I don't think, number one, I don't think they're going to put out any other movies that haven't been announced yet before Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Because a couple of things. Number one, that movie could go badly. The movie could be an L, and that L could negatively impact the story that they're telling. And right now, they finally have positive traction, and I don't think they want to, if it's not broken, don't fix it type of thing, number one. Number two, I also don't think they want to pay for it because Lord knows how expensive Doomsday is going to be with all the actors that are in it, the effects, everything else, and the marketing. It's going to be very expensive to do another movie on top of that. But having said that, it's odd when they're saying that the new Avengers and the Fantastic Four will appear in multiple files when the only announced movies we have left are Fantastic Four, Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man Brand New Day, and Secret Wars. 4 movies.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are Avengers movies.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And there was a time where we thought Doctor Strange might have been possible, but it didn't happen. Like, it's never been announced, so that's not happening. You know what I mean? They can't just poop up a Doctor Strange movie in like a year from now. Like, right now, they can't just poop it out. So yeah, who knows? We'll have to see. But I mean, I'm definitely not against the Fantastic Four popping up. I think that Reed needs to be. Like, I saw it might have been Jeff Snyder, but he was reassuring fans. He's like, look, guys. He was like, I hope you guys understand that Reed is a main character in both of these movies. Like, you know what I mean? And he was like, a lot of you guys are hype about, about possibly Steve Rogers coming back, but like Reed is the guy for this movie, and y'all don't understand that. So I really think the Fantastic Four is going to steal a lot of fans' hearts in the next year, bro. I really do.
Me too. Bro, the Fantastic Four are great. Like, I can't believe some people try to say they're boring. That's crazy to me.
I agree.
They are some of the best characters ever, and they really have it all because you have Reed, who is the smartest man ever, leader, innovator, pioneer. You have your motherly figure and mother and Invisible Woman. You have Johnny Storm, who's like the fun, cocky jock. And then you have the Thing, who's funny and also your emotional depth. So, like, they really have a lot of variety in just those 4 characters, and that makes them so much fun and their, chemistry together. I, for example, like to drive that point even further, I hate episodic stories. I hate stories. I don't like TV shows or comic books that are like individual one-off stories. So, for example, what are those CSU shows like SVU?
Oh, the Law and Order.
Every episode is a completely different story, and it's a waste of time to me. But the current Fantastic Four run is that, but I still read it just because the characters are so much fun. It's kind of not been that for like maybe the past 5 to 10 issues because they were gearing up for One World Under Doom, and now it's their One World Under Doom tie-ins. But I still read 20 issues like that just because the characters are so much fun. And they don't usually do that for Fantastic Four books, and they're rebooting it around the time of the Fantastic Four release because they just wanted to say on shelves Fantastic Four 1. But there's something that's called the Forever Stone that Reed is supposed to be seeking, and that makes me think it's not going to be episodic anymore because if he's seeking the Forever Stone, that sounds like a multi-issue story arc.
100%. Great point. Great point. Now, guys, 2 more topics and we're out of here, man. So, Peacemaker season 2 trailer came out a few days ago. How did you like it, bro? How did you like the Peacemaker trailer?
Oh, I thought it looked good. I probably need to watch it again, but I'm so excited for the show. Like, I can't believe it's coming out so quickly.
I agree, bro. The trailer was dope. It was fun seeing Guy and a Hawk Girl in there. It looked like Peacemaker is trying to like join their little justice team or whatever they got going on there, which I thought was funny because they were like roasting him. And he was like, guys, like, the speaker's on, right? So I thought that was super hilarious. And John Cena plays this role perfectly, bro. I just can't wait to see him. I just can't wait to see him in the show. Do I think he's going to get to the movies? I don't really know. But hey, he's a fun character to watch in this show, and I'm just going to keep enjoying it. Like, I don't really see it as nothing crazy to move the needle, but it's just a fun show to watch, bro.
Yeah, I think it's a fun show, and I also think it's great that it's going to be part of the DCU. I know that the Snyder cult is complaining about it, but why wouldn't it be? It's like so easy to bring in Peacemaker. He's not going to have like a major impact on anything like too significant in a bad way, and it's a major win that they get to launder into their universe. Like, why wouldn't they do it?
I agree, bro. I agree. So yeah, bro, I thought it was dope. And then last topic of the night, and then we'll read you all chats. Clayface is being rewritten. So they finally found a writer, and so now they're going to be doing that. How do you feel about Clayface being redone? And it's funny how we kind of had talked about Sergeant Rock last week.
Yeah.
Now Clayface.
I don't mind. I think this movie would probably be pretty cool. I think everyone's freaking out about it. And it's like, oh my God, why are they making a Clayface movie? I don't hate it. I think it'll probably be a pretty cool movie. Probably not character at the top of my list at all. I like Clayface, but like, I don't think it, I'm not throwing a temper tantrum over it.
Yeah. Now you know where I stand. I don't really want it all, but it's whatever. I hope it gets canceled.
I wouldn't care if it did. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I just don't want to waste my time watching this, bro. I'm trying to see Batman, bro.
Yeah,
I was being real, and James is apparently writing some project right now, so hopefully it's Batman. We need Brave and the Bold, bro.
You know what though? Maybe they didn't start out with Batman because they knew that they needed to get people to care about other characters aside from just Batman. Or maybe James Gunn really thinks Superman is that guy and he's the one that is going to make everyone really excited about the DCU.
Yeah. I mean, I like starting out with Superman, but when you promised me you're bringing in Damian Wayne and Nightwing and all these characters, it's like, no, you can't just say that and then be silent. Like, that's a big promise. So I am chomping at the bit. And not for that, man. I want a Flash movie, bro. Like, I need a Flash movie, man. A real Flash movie. I need it, bro.
I thought the last one was a real Flash movie.
Yeah, well, yes, but like, I mean, like without all the drama and all that stuff, like I want a good Flash Barry Allen movie with Wally West. Like, give me the whole 9 yards. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
be super fun. So, all right, we're gonna read some y'all chats and then we're gonna get out of here. So let's see, because we missed a lot of y'all chats. I feel like I was the one who created T'Challa. You definitely did. I stole that. Right? I heard a theory that Spider-Man is helping Miles in Beyond the Spider-Verse, and that's the reason why he's not in New York during Thunderbolts. You're saying Tom Holland Spider-Man? That would be wild. Don't think that's true though. So the MCU Brand New Day is a jumping on point, I guess. Probably. I can see the Brand New Day doing the Thunderbolts effect, where maybe by the end of the story we see Peter's perspective of Doomsday. That would be insane. People confuse grounded with street level. Facts. Street level is heroes that deal with local everyday crime. Grounded is stories that just have a realistic tone. So, but inferiors don't know that you can just Google that. This is my idea, but what if in Secret Wars Tom Holland wakes up in Battle World and he's attacked by Marvel zombies and he's saved by Toby and Andrew? The audience learn Battle World from the perspective of the three Spider-Mans. That'll be wild. What if Norman Osborn? Why not Norman Osborn be the Iron Patriot of the new Avengers? He's essentially the Iron Man of the new team, bro. Right? And I wish we got that in Thunderbolts, bro. The Superman trailer better. Oh God, Batman, Green Lantern, Hal, Flash, Nightwing, Robin. Facts, bro. Great list. If your list doesn't have a Green Lantern in it, then you're not a true DC fan. That's been my new thing.
Great point.
Like you cannot say you love DC and not love a GL. One of them. Marvel is better at interconnectivity. DC has better legacy / side characters. DC has better world building. Example: Gotham, Metropolis, Oa, the Mascara, Bloodhaven, etc. Marvel has better street stories.
It's interesting. I think that might be accurate. I would say that's probably accurate.
That's actually a great take.
Yeah.
So yeah, Superman may not be my personal favorite DC hero, but when people say he's boring, that's when I get mad. Facts. That's crazy. It's the opposite for me. None of my friends care about Fantastic Four works. Superman, bro, that's fire. Sup, guys? What's up? But we already read that. Excited for Superman, but I'm not excited. We read that already. You think Gunn is going to stay away from Darkseid? He's definitely not bringing Darkseid in the first chapter after Snyder abused him for a few years. Why can't Sony do an Elseworld live action Spider-Man 2099?
I would love to see that, bro.
That would make so much money, bro. That would be insane. Even to give me a Scarlet Spider trilogy, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. This looks kind of fire, and that's rare to say for Sony, Marvel, maybe Sony in general in the last decade. Maybe his Wakanda name is T'Challa Jr. and they will call him T'Challa in the marketing. They have to. They can't use Tucson, bro. They cannot do that. How do you think they will age him up? Secret Wars. I just think there's going to be a really big time jump, because you can just do that at this point. T'Challa better feel like T'Challa. Facts. I really don't see Marvel being dumb enough to use the name. See, we're on the same page. Tucson. You can't say Tucson is back. Bro, it sounds like a name of bread. Sounds like a bread on my name. Get out of here. They will call him T'Challa since that's his Wakanda name. Facts, bro. Hey, if Sam already recruited his Avengers team, then what about the Thunderbolts? Are they a part of the team, bro? That's what makes this story very interesting. We don't know what's going to happen. There could be an all-out war. That's what I want. I still think we need a Tony Stark post-Secret Wars. I agree. RDJ needs to stay. The Sentry / Mr. Fantastic dynamic is very interesting in the comics. I've never read it. Wait, I'm confused. Why? Marvel is done doing major characters and Disney Plus shows. I'm confused about that. You see, I did die. But yeah, bro. It is the best for the brand, bro. It is.
You can't degrade the if you put characters who are meant for movies in TV, you hurt their stock.
100%. Doctor Strange 3, I can see in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. Yeah, but bro, to announce that and to announce that now and no filming, they would have had to film this in secret and no one would know. And that's darn near impossible at this point. That's impossible, bro.
Yeah.
Well, for a long time, Kevin and us, the fans, wanted the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four to meet and work together, and we're getting that in Doomsday.
Yeah.
I've heard there's an unnamed Marvel movie releasing in February 2026. Could be Sony, though. Has to be Sony. Marvel Studios would not do that, bro.
Yeah, I know there were a couple untitled movies on the slate, but at this point, if we don't know about them, they're not happening.
Yeah, because you're not just pooping out a billion. You know, you can't do anything like that anymore. Have you guys heard what John Campbell said about the Batman 2 and Matt Reeves leaving? Yes, but James Gunn came out a few days ago, like 2 days ago, and debunked that, saying that Matt Reeves is working on the Batman 2. So, are the DC shows canon to the DC films? Yes, they are. Well, the live action ones that we have right now, yes, but like the Maya ads with Superman and the Green Lantern one that they're doing, and those are not canon to the DCU whatsoever. Those are Elseworlds. So it just depends. Live action Clayface might go hard. They should rename Clayface to Clayman or maybe Clay. What? All right, we have a few more comments around here. I'm still not a fan of the idea of a Clayface movie. Like our first introduction to the DCU Gotham City should be in a Batman movie. I would rather they make Clayface the villain of Brave and the Bold. I 100% agree. Again, I love Batman, but bro has gotten enough love for people to wait. Bro, I'm just waiting for Robin and Green. Bro, we're in the same place, brother. We did get a Flash movie, yeah, but not a DCU Flash movie where there's not underlying stupid drama. We're not going to get a Flash movie for a while after the first bomb. Bro, I disagree, bro. If you cast the right guy, what is this? Hi, this is me, Mr. Anti-Idiotic. Okay. All right, and then the last comment of the night. Not going to lie, I legit forgot about J-Dub Rebirth and the Fantastic Four at this point, while me and my friends have known about Superman for months. Like, I think Superman might do better than people think, but who knows? Going to be a wild July. Bro, we are getting peak, bro. We're getting Superman, the Jurassic World, and the Fantastic Four. And what, next week or the week after, we're seeing Mission Impossible. Bro, we're eating right now. So I am a happy man. So, yeah. All right, y'all. We're going to end the show here, man. We hope you guys had a great time hanging out with us for a few hours. Stay crispy. Clips going out every day. Paid subs. We're doing an MCU Avengers Doomsday lead up and breakdown. Stay crispy. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.